Once upon a time, their inhabitants used to battle against wind, waves, and isolation. Now they're harnessing the forces of nature to provide clean energy. Islands of the future. Role models for the whole world. On the way to Samsø, an island in the Danish Baltic Sea, about an hour from the mainland. Samsø is making news worldwide as the outstanding example of a successful energy revolution, a place that intends to meet all its power needs with clean energy. The small island is visited by politicians and scientists from around the globe. Captain Kusk is not too pleased with all the commotion about Samsø.
The first impression is one of coziness and tranquility. When you come over here, you fall into a completely different rhythm. Most of the inhabitants are real country folk, a farming community.
So how did a farming island become a model for the energy provision of the future? At first glance, it really is the fields, seagulls and windmills that characterize the island. The second glance tells you the farmers are versatile. They harvest not only grain, but also the earliest potatoes in Denmark, and many types of berries. 1,000 kilometers north of Paris or Munich, some even try their hand at wine growing. The first farmers here left behind spectacular megalithic tombs. That was at least 7,000 years ago. In the Middle Ages came the Vikings. Nowadays, it's mainly tourists who come for the peace and quiet and unspoiled nature. The more active among them use Samsø as a base for exploring the Danish islands. There are a few wind turbines, as everywhere on the coast. The first impression, a very ordinary holiday island with simple, wholesome charm. But then there's this futuristic building near the beach, Samsoe's Energy Academy. This place is all about renewable energies, and this is what attracts people from all over the world.
And these are Galapagos people and people from development of sustainability and aid programs from Germany.
The global importance of Samsø for energy experts is in striking contrast to the initial, rather sleepy impression.
Being from Samsø, I mean, some might think that Samsø is a tiny little place that doesn't mean anything for the world, but...
Yeah, well, I feel kind of proud also that we have so many foreign guests that come to Samsø to see what we've achieved and hear about our projects.
The people from the Galapagos Islands have traveled many thousands of kilometers to get here.
Should we make friends with Galapagos?
Yeah, well,
Venimos a Samso junto con un grupo de gente de Galapagos.
Our group has come to Samsø to see the renewable energies that have been developed on this island. We've been here for 2 days and are being taken to see individual projects by the people from the Energy Academy.
Los diferentes proyectos.
The director of the Energy Academy is Søren Hermansen. It all began with him and with the Danish government, which was looking for a model region.
In 1997, the government launched a competition. They wanted to show that with the laws already existing at the time, with funding programs and with the involvement of the people, it would be possible to provide 100% regenerative energy.
Søren was determined to win the project for Samsø. A local action group worked with expert consultants to produce a master plan, and Samsø was granted the project. Søren shows us his Samsø from a bird's eye view. A place of history, which is again attracting attention.
The Samsø was an important place in the Viking period, and this is where the first settlers lived in the Stone Age.
Samsø is strategically well placed on a strait. The great sandstone reef makes the fjord a huge natural harbour. That was why Samsø was so attractive for the Vikings. Their dragon boats assembled in the fjord ahead of raids and for consultations. Samsø means Assembly Island. To avoid being trapped in the fjord, the Vikings dug a canal at the narrowest point of the island, through which their boats could reach the open sea. The canal has long since silted up, but it's still clearly recognizable as a green cutting in the landscape. Nowadays, the whole fjord is a nature conservation area. It's an important breeding ground for many varieties of duck and seabirds. Most of the island's inhabitants live in the south of Samsø. This is the land of the farmers. But it's not only food that's produced down there. There's clean energy as well.
We are now flying past our wind turbines. They produce all the electricity we consume. There are 11 turbines on land. They all belong to the people of Samsø themselves. That has an enormous psychological effect, because it means the wind turbines are accepted by them.
Approaching the island capital, Tranebjerg. 800 of the island's population of 4,000 live here. A large solar plant has recently been set up next to the town hall. Nowhere else in Denmark is so much solar energy produced per head as on Samsø. Further south, Søren proudly shows us the island's biggest project.
That's our €40 million mega project. Initially, no one believed that we would ever set up wind turbines out at sea.
North of the fjord, Samsø looks very different. The glaciers of the Ice Age shaped the north into an enchanted landscape.
The land here is not cultivated. It's just for cattle grazing. Norbybakker is our beloved nature conservation area. Tourists come from far and wide to go rambling there and enjoy the landscape.
Tucked away in a small forest is a romantic castle, Brattingsborg, the home of Samsø's nobility.
The Brattingsborg estate is not very old, but the family is. They used to own the whole island. The story has it that it was given to a mistress of the king as a sort of dowry, but maybe he just wanted to pay her off. Anyway, the family received the island as a present. They own the whole island for several generations. They still own a fifth of Samso. Our relationship with the Count is so-so. We think he interferes in things that don't concern him, but neglects other things that he should take care of. But that's the way they are, the nobility.
August is harvest time for the corn. The farmers used to burn the straw or plough it in, but now they reap it. Straw has become an important raw material. Arne Kremer is Samso's straw tycoon. If you want to turn your straw into money, he's your man. He owns state-of-the-art machines that harvest the precious straw highly efficiently. Harvesting the straw was one of the first steps taken on Samsø towards climate protection. Arne's driver doesn't take the straw to a cattle shed or barn. His boss is waiting for the load at a heating plant. The farmers are paid according to weight and quality. Above all, the straw must not be too moist. First, the straw is chopped. And then burned, as in the past too. But nowadays, the heat is used. The furnace produces heat that is used to heat the houses in the neighborhood. Straw instead of oil. There are two crucial advantages. The straw grows again, and when it's burned, the amount of carbon dioxide released is the same as the crop takes from the air when it's growing. The technology was invented by a farmer on the mainland.
And we decided in our People's Assembly to do something similar here. I'm really pleased that the consumers get much cheaper heat than they did using oil. It's very gratifying that we can use everything from the harvest, and the local people can heat their houses cheaply. That's really good.
Arne runs his own heating plant and two others that belong to cooperatives. Merete Buchhaver is the chair of the cooperative of Ballen and Brøndby. She's the boss here. She runs the business on a voluntary basis, but very efficiently. The burning straw heats up water. Pipes take the hot water to the houses in the two villages. District heating. The pipes run under the road. The heating plant is big enough to heat all the buildings in neighboring Brøndby. Everyone in the village can be connected. Most of the private homes and holiday accommodation in the nearby holiday resort of Ballen can also be supplied with heating and hot water. To get the locals to join in the scheme, Merete and the cooperative made a very tempting offer.
Our plan was to find at least 176 households to start with. We offered to join them up for just 1 krone. And still we only got 167. But we started nevertheless, and that was the right thing. Because when people saw their neighbours being connected, they suddenly wanted to join in as well. Even before we finished, we had a lot of properties involved, both in Ballen and in Brundby.
Børge Nielsen wasn't one of the original participants. The Nielsens had just installed a new oil-fired boiler, which they soon regretted. Madeira made them another special offer, and they got rid of the oil boiler.
That was because of the high price of oil. We had to pay 6,000 euros to be joined up, but after 6 years, we virtually recouped that. That's okay. But we could have been in on it at the beginning for a few cents. It was almost free. I just wasn't smart enough.
Heating with straw was new for the people of Samsø, but it's proved its worth in the meantime. Apart from straw, a vital component of Samsø's energy project is the wind. The farmers have been using wind energy for centuries. People didn't need convincing that you can do more with the wind than grind corn. Some had even tried to get planning permission for a wind turbine.
You have to find people prepared to risk the first step because they see the potential in an idea. The farmers were the earliest to be interested in wind turbines, but you need planning permission. They were attracted to the project because it would make it easier to get planning permission.
One of the first to see an opportunity was Jørgen Tranberg. He owned land, was willing to invest, and wind turbines promised a secure return on his money.
There was a really good price paid for wind energy at the time. So it was a good investment if you could get planning permission.
Jørgen was one of the first to commit to the energy project and invested in 2 large wind turbines. He wasn't thinking so much about the climate at the time.
The turbine here cost me €1 million. The one at sea, 2 million. You don't do that just for the sake of CO2 emissions. No, you have to be fairly sure that it will be good business.
The turbines are a dependable source of income. Jørgen's farm now has a second mainstay, and he built himself a modern house, all made possible by the new energy project.
The wind turbine down there was a really good move. It's recouped its cost 3 times over. No complaints there. The turbine out at sea has also paid for itself. Now we're moaning a bit because 2/3 of the income has to go on repairs, but that's whinging from a high comfort level.
But the aim on Samsø was not to set up a project for affluent farmers with their own land. Muggleskar, a wild landscape in the northwest. Søren comes here when he wants to be alone to think. Today, as back then. He wanted as many islanders involved as possible. That was important to him from the outset, because by the mid-1990s, Samsø was in serious trouble.
A lot of things were happening on Samsø at the same time. An abattoir had to close down. 100 people lost their jobs. People's willingness to go along with this project had something to do with the difficulties existing at the time. They offered an opportunity.
Even so, it all sounded to many of the inhabitants of Samsø like something thought up by green dreamers in far-off Copenhagen. Being told what to do by alien experts, that was just not going to happen. Søren embarked on an arduous round of talking to people and downing vast amounts of coffee, cake and beer.
To start with, we had to change a top-down project into a grassroots project. The concept was not concrete enough. We had to make it real. So the question of what do I get out of it had a clear answer. What good is it to me and my surroundings?
The aim was for everyone to be able to join in according to their possibilities. No new law, no government was telling them what to do. Finally, they set up holding companies and cooperatives and designated land for construction. And then they jointly ordered their own first wind turbines.
When the ferry opened its loading gate and the first turbine came on land, everything changed. It really was a new beginning. It was a very exciting transition period to a new era in which we would set up the project.
Most of the wind turbines belong to many islanders collectively. Søren is especially fond of these. Electrician Brian Kjær maintains the turbines and carries out minor repairs.
I have to go up and adjust various slip rings. It's a good day for it. Not much wind.
That reduces the loss of earnings.
Okay, let's come in.
The turbines are an important part of Brian's business. He has to turn them off to carry out maintenance. When the turbine isn't working, it costs the shareholders hard cash, so it's good that Brian can be on the spot quickly for minor repairs. When the turbines generate more electricity than is consumed on Samsø, the excess is transported via a cable to the mainland. When there's no wind, the current flows in the opposite direction, to the island. It's a great advantage that Samsø is not a remote island in the middle of nowhere. Brian likes working up here, especially since this generator does not belong to some major power company, but to the people of Samsø themselves. For Brian, it's like home territory.
I have 7 shares in this wind turbine. That's about 1 per mil. There are lots of shareholders. I really like that. You're part of something that a lot of people want to do. Lots of people contributed to the wind turbine. If you own a part of it, it makes you proud of the whole project.
In other places, wind turbines are not so popular. Too loud, people say. Too much shadow.
We can talk here, so there's not that much noise. Then there's the psychological effect of owning a share. Suddenly the plant is not so loud, casts fewer shadows, and is in every way much less disruptive, because it's mine. Also, the planning is important. You wouldn't site it so that it put a village in shadow.
The locations are carefully chosen. Samsø is also a holiday destination. Holidaymakers may not have such a personal relationship with wind turbines in the landscape and should not be put off visiting. and there are spots where wind turbines are an absolute taboo. It would certainly be possible to put up more turbines on Samsø and make even more money, but that's not what the islanders want at all. The Stauns Fjord is seen by the islanders as their heritage from their forefathers. From here, you can't see a single wind turbine, nor a heating plant, not even a trail of smoke, even though nothing is very far away on Samsø.
That you can't see anything of the wind turbines or the district heating is exactly how we planned it. We took a lot of care to ensure that there were areas with turbines and areas reserved for nature.
Søren grew up on Samsø, on a farm. He's widely travelled and has lived in Lithuania, Norway and New Zealand. Today, he's a much sought-after expert internationally. He jets around the world, Brussels, the US, Japan, giving lectures, attending conferences, and advising politicians. But he still sees a trip on the fjord as something extra special. It's like a journey into a different age. The fjord is Søren's welcome change, somewhere to draw breath and decelerate. He sometimes meets up here on the fjord with Jens Peter Boll. He's the shepherd and nature guide in the fjord area. He also ensures that all the visitors stick to the rules in the nature conservation area. The four-legged lawnmowers make sure the island doesn't get overgrown with trees and bushes. The grassland is ecologically valuable and should be preserved. The Highland cattle and Gotland sheep grazing here are principally serving the purpose of nature conservation.
The land here has never been ploughed or planted. It was always just grassland. Horses, cows and sheep graze here, and have done for many, many years. 7,000 years ago in the Stone Age, there were already people living here who looked for food out in the fjord. So it's unspoiled nature here. It's fantastic to come to such an area. It's the heart of Samsø, here in the middle of Staunsfjord. It's good to be able to wander around here during my working hours. Many people devote their free time to that. I'm paid for it.
The flat islands in the fjord would be ideal locations for wind turbines.
There's no question of that. This is an area for nature, not wind turbines.
The large-scale wind turbines of the energy project are not the only ones operating on Samsø. A lot of people picked up on the idea and have built their own smaller wind turbines on their own property. A whole island powered up. Electrician Brian Kier was one of the first. He cobbled together his own wind turbine in his barn.
I completely dismantled the wind turbine here in the workshop and replaced broken parts.
He uses the wind power to heat water and stores his home-generated energy as heat in a huge tank. The turbine is his piggy bank.
We save around €3,000 a year. I can use that for nice things like the children or holidays.
Brian generates both wind and solar power. It's as though a virus has infected the whole island. Everyone's caught it.
It's incredibly important to go out and meet people, to find out how the community functions. Where are the key figures? Who makes things happen? And who has the means to make things happen?
One of the key figures is plumber Ole Hemmingsen. Many of the facilities in Samso's private houses have been installed by his company.
My company has 11 or 12 employees. 5 or 6 of them have something to do with renewable energy. Often it's just the conventional solutions, replacement windows, insulating the roof, and installing things that have been around a long time, like solar panels, solar cells, or heat pumps.
Ole is currently installing a geothermal heat pump for one of his customers. It makes use of the difference in temperature on the Earth's surface and at a depth of 1.2 meters to heat the house. This requires laying a long pipe filled with liquid that absorbs the heat of the Earth and conveys it into the house. That's why half the land of the customer's 200-year-old farm is now being dug up. The old house is being fitted with one of the most modern heating systems available, one that consumes neither oil nor gas. It's a lot of effort and cost and a very messy job, but it benefits the plumber, the homeowner, and the climate. The whole scheme has been carefully worked out. The customer is thinking about the future.
I calculate that this investment will have paid for itself in less than 10 years. At the moment, we have electric heating, which is very expensive. We also have a stove for heating, which is a lot of work. We obviously wouldn't have done this if it didn't make financial sense over time.
The people of Samsø are not short of unusual ideas. The Christiansen family's floor is cozy and warm the whole year round. The energy source responsible is next door. Carsten Christiansen is a farmer. A dairy farmer. His milk has a lot to offer. It comes out of the cows at a temperature of 39 degrees Celsius. Our house has an area of 150 square meters, and we have 110 cows to heat it. Carsten Christiansen has to reduce the body temperature of the milk quickly to 6 degrees Celsius. The milk flows from the cow's udders into a heat exchanger. This looks more like scrap metal than high-tech, and it functions like an old-fashioned car radiator. Inside, the heat of the milk is transferred to cold water. The resulting hot water then heats the floor of the house, using heat that would otherwise be wasted. It's cost-effective and environment-friendly as well. Another farmer contributing to Samsoe's energy revolution. All these large and small initiatives come together here. The design of the Energy Academy building is based on the Vikings' longhouses. Over 1,000 years ago, they were already using the heat of their cows. The Academy is part of the energy project. This is where all the ideas are coordinated. It's here that the people of Samsø meet to discuss all the issues to do with energy. The sort of conflict that's nearly always present when wind turbines are erected, or when a community is faced with necessary changes, is virtually unknown here. The idea that you have to convince people and win them over if you want to bring lasting changes to a community, that is something that the people here see as a model for all energy projects around the globe.
When we first started in 1997, we were importing electricity to Samsø to the tune of 10 million euros a year. By 2008, when the project officially ended, we were producing 40% more power than we were consuming and exporting energy for 5 million euros a year. We'd created 30 new jobs. The community was able to tell the ministry, mission accomplished. We have new jobs and an export market that earns money for Samso.
But the people of Samsø are concerned not only with the money, but equally with being in charge of their energy revolution. Purely profit-oriented large-scale projects which don't involve the people or which destroy nature are out of the question for Søren and his fellow campaigners. But just such a project is now threatening the showcase island. Because the islanders took charge themselves of their energy revolution, they have been able to keep the charm of the island and preserve the beauties of nature. This idyll could now be severely damaged by, of all things, a plan for a wind park. Just where they have ensured that the landscape is not affected by any wind turbines is where the trouble's brewing. Søren is on his way to a friend, the celebrated composer of modern classical music, Pelle Gudmundsen Holmgren. The composer has chosen to make his home on Samsø. In summer, he lives and works on the secluded northern coast. Not that he turns his back on the world. He's involved in a protest movement against a large-scale project by a Danish energy concern. The company wants to build an offshore wind park here off the northernmost tip of the island. It's a gigantic undertaking that the locals and tourists are confronted with. Pelle Gudmundsen Holmgren has wind energy fan Søren on his side in the protest, because what's planned threatens public acceptance of wind energy in general. The hills of Norby are a nature conservation area and important for Samsø's tourism. At first, the people of Samsø could hardly envisage what the company was planning.
The sailing ship there, you have to imagine something 8 times that size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So big. They're real monsters.
The huge wind turbines would stick up well above the horizon, 160 meters tall, a completely new dimension here.
It would be like setting up a huge grid with rotating heads and blinking lights in a landscape consisting of the most charming hills, which were shaped by the Ice Age 10,000 years ago. You just can't do that. This is a conservation area. Of course, we're accused of NIMBYism. Not in my backyard. Naturally, we don't want that. But apart from that, the conservation area was not set up just to satisfy our sensibilities, but for the Danish people. This is part of the national cultural heritage. The poets and the politicians go into raptures about the Danish coasts. But you can't preserve the coast and at the same time plant an industrial site in front of it.
The people of Samsø are by no means against offshore wind parks in principle. The islanders themselves have built one, but its location was carefully chosen. The turbines are off part of the coast that's intensively used, where there are wind turbines on land as well. The electricity from these wind turbines is not used on Samsø. It flows directly to the mainland, where it enables the polluting coal-fired power stations to be throttled back. With this plant, the islanders compensate for the climate-damaging exhaust gases they themselves still produce. Søren and his team want to know what their wind turbines look like below the waterline, 10 years on from being built. There's a wealth of marine life here. Sponges, sea cucumbers, and sea anemones have colonized the foundations. A small, new ecosystem. The divers are especially pleased to see all the mussels. Søren and the Energy Academy have the exclusive right to harvest them. The wind turbines at sea solve one of the island's problems on land. The people of Samsø can't live completely without oil. On Samsø, as elsewhere, most of the vehicles use petrol or diesel. The island only has the good climate footprint it has because the offshore wind turbines reduce the use of fossil fuels elsewhere. But things are about to change. The islanders don't intend to rest on their laurels. Samsø's project is due to enter a new phase with an ambitious goal. No more diesel, petrol, or heating oil. But how best to achieve this goal? Biofuels? An island of bicycles? After a long debate, they have a plan. Road traffic is to become electric. The local authority is leading the way. It's built a huge solar power station and bought electric vehicles. Filling up is via cable beneath the solar roof. Susanna Anderson is one of the geriatric nurses who have now been given a brand new staff car. Altogether, the local authority has acquired 8 cars for the mobile nurses of Tranebjerg. Using the cars, they visit elderly islanders who still live in their own homes but need support in their daily lives. The authority hopes that buying the electric cars will edge people in the right direction. State-of-the-art electric cars, a good idea for you too? That's the message the nurses and their cars convey with every trip they make.
I drive about 50 kilometers a day, depending on whether we're in the north or the south of the island. I think it's a fantastic project to try and make the island free of fossil fuels. I'm right behind being as energy-saving as we can be when we're driving. It's a wonderful car that's fun to drive and efficient, and it has very good acceleration.
The man who's determined to see the number of electric cars increase rapidly is the very man who's known on Samsø for loud engines, for the smell of oil and petrol, and for his Austin Healey frog eye sprite. Stefan Wolfbrandt is the founder and chairman of the Electric Car Association. The aim is for the carbon dioxide emissions on the roads to be reduced by half by 2020. Electricity from the wind turbines will then be stored in the car batteries. This would place Samsø a step ahead of the rest of the world in storing clean energy. So far, Stefan has been best known for his museum and its collection of old Austins. When it comes to cars, his heart is with the heroes of the past. A love of old gas guzzlers and now electric cars, do they go together?
They go together very well. We show both extremes, the smell and noise of the old cars, and then the silence and lack of vibration with the new electric cars. That's fantastic. My 2 favorite cars really are one of the old ones and an electric car, because it's completely new and completely different. The Electric Car Association is now 6 months old, and we have about 25 electric cars on Samsø. We're aiming for 1,000, and we'll achieve that by 2020.
The Danish Postal Service is also joining in. It's testing cars on Samsø that one day soon may be delivering letters and parcels throughout Denmark.
Ja, vi kommer sgu i tysk tv nu. Ja.
Purring, almost silent vans, at least as far as the engine's concerned. But people will still know when Postman Ola has been. Stefan Wolfbrandt's Red Austin is a fun car for late summer evenings. For driving with the family, on the other hand, he's long gone electric, and very comfortably too. The Wolfbrandts manage very well with their electric car on Samsø. Whether doing the week's shopping or taking a trip to the beach on Sunday afternoon, no problem on Samsø. But what about people who have to leave the island, who have to travel further afield?
No problem. The range is 180 kilometers. I'm driving to Copenhagen tomorrow and will be away for a week. The car is of course perfect for Samsø, but also for the rest of Denmark. Copenhagen, Zealand, Aarhus, I can drive there with no problem. There are no limitations.
At first sight, Samsø has nothing special to offer. No elemental forces waiting to be tapped. No high mountains, not even guaranteed sun. Nevertheless, in terms of statistics, it's the first CO2-free island in the world. Its success story is a story of people, of their inventiveness and their functioning community. It hasn't always been easy for this farming community to ditch old ways of thinking and traditions.
But if you don't try, then nothing gets done. Seen from the inside, the change hasn't been all that big, perhaps. It's not something we boast about. Seen from the outside, though, what we've accomplished here seems fantastic.
The success has only been possible because they managed to get everyone pulling together. The people of Samsø jointly decided to change something in order to survive as a community. Almost incidentally, they've become a model for the world. Together, whether visionary, artist, farmer, entrepreneur, craftsman or nurse. Each in his or her role is part of something big, something very special. And they invite the world to share their experience and their good fortune.